Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the wake for Joe's Supercoach season. We're here to recall the wonderful life this team had and the hope and optimism of a potentially strong start, as he had always hoped. Alas, his season has come to an end because his team is a no good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Joe's Round 4 team review, which is quite a tragedy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is season over for 2025. Here we are. We scored a measly 1864 this week, which is unfortunate, but hey, we play this game for fun. We had some risk, and the risk did not pay off at all. It exploded in our faces, and we're just going to enjoy the rest of the season for what it is, enjoy the football, and keep going week in and week out. That was a tragic week because the people that we trade out all come good, and the people that we trade in are no good. So, and you can see, there we go, clear as day. We had the Zorko 94 captaincy, which sucked a little bit compared to going with a Maxi Gorn. The initial idea of VC Zorko into Captain Whitfield, we did not stick to it. A lot of these things, as what I've learned or sort of been reminded of this year, is initially sometimes the first call you make, the gut call, the first one you make is the right one. And when you overthink it or you try to be a little bit clever, a little bit smart, sometimes you end up with egg on your face. And I have lots of it. Now, am I the only one that went with the Zorko captaincy? No, definitely not. But Joe, you know well and good that if you get a VC of 120 plus, you take it. This is the way I've always played it because you certainly save yourself a lot of heartache if the captaincy doesn't work. It's a guaranteed 120 plus score. You just take it, mate. No need to be clever. So what? If Zorko goes 140, 150, I'm risking 122 points for an extra, 28 points. Not worth it. Not worth it. Silly, greedy man I am. That's why my season is over. Whitfield, well done with a 148. Good job. The Shays kept him because obviously that last quarter, last week, he was migrated into the back line, playoff halfback, where he got a lot of points. The dream, the hope and dream for this week was that the Shays would continue to play in that role, and that's what happened. So 144 is what he's capable of when he's playing there. Well done, Shays. Is it going to persist? No, it won't. But that's fine because the season is over and there's no point getting upset about that. Clark with 101. Man, imagine if I brought in Sinclair the week that I decided to bring Clark. Clark himself has not been a disappointment in isolation. Nothing bad about you, Jordan Clark. It's just that, unfortunately, in this day and age, and it's comparisons can kill. And because I am comparing you to someone that I could have brought in, like Sinclair, you are unfortunately someone that I'm seeing in negative light right now. Forgive me, Clark. You are actually a very good player, and I'm quite satisfied with you as a trade-in option because I do think you're going to continue to be a very decent scorer for me. Roberts with a 77. Gee, that 50-minute penalty and goal in the end certainly salvaged what could have been a bad score, but we take it with a 77. Reed did not play this week. Trainer did. We got his 82, which was very nice. We kept O'Connell on the bench because I just thought he might come back. And I didn't want to trade him to Bice because it just felt a bit too sidewaysy for me. And I didn't think Bice would be just the absolute go-to Supercoach. Instead, we've prioritized getting in as many non-rookies as possible this week, having gone Humphrey, Baz, and Marriage at the expense of Horne-Francis. We ended up trading out Horne-Francis and keeping Rosie, despite my initial, again, backing your first thought. Kept Rosie and traded out Horne-Francis when it could have very well initially had done it the other way around. Alas, we did not stick with that, and we ended up going with keeping Rosie trading out the horny one, and the horny one made owners very horny on the weekend. Good for them. Not so good for me, but that's okay. Rosie, as we're talking about, Shearer with a 99. Look, all things considered, this guy probably is among their best mids, and every time he's on the ball, good stuff happens. Alas, it doesn't happen for a full game, and I think that's because they are managing his body, because we know historically that it tends to crash and burn. But he's averaging 104 for us, and at that price point, that's sort of what we were hoping that he was going to do. Averaging 104, 100 to 110, that's obviously around that mark, is exactly what we were hoping for. So he is doing what we thought he would do. Same thing with Clary. He's going at an average of 100. These guys were in the mid to low 400Ks. And if they could do that, then they are doing their job for us. Finn is not doing his job for us. Of course, I traded Will Ashcroft and kept Finn Callahan. Yes. Some of these 50-50 calls that I've made this year have been quite brutal. I had to drop a midfielder to fix up my back line. Alas, I traded out the wrong one. As is usual, unfortunately, you guys have sort of noticed over last year and this year that I'm almost cursed. I'm almost as bad as Tim Mitchell, if not as bad as Tim Mitchell. So I'm going to continue doing these weekly videos so that you guys can avoid the players that I'm trading in. So that I'm doing this as a service to you guys, so that you guys can keep an eye on which player is going to get struck next. Thankfully, it wasn't Marriage who scored an 88 and was their highest scorer on the weekend. It was a demolition of epic proportions, and Marriage had the role that we all thought that he was going to have. Took in kick-ins and playing off halfback. It was glorious. This guy could genuinely be a keeper for us in our forward lines. Nod, unfortunately, couldn't continue that hot run, had the ankle problem, gone for scans. We'll see what comes of it. Levi, 87, took advantage again of the Tigers matchup, and Henderson with a 32. Really, I just had to take it. I really didn't have many options at this point in the midfield, with Lindsay injured, hopefully back this week. Sardis injured, hopefully back this week, and also had the bye. And Camporeale continued to be a dead rookie for us. Hopefully he can come back. Gorn and DeConning, I just wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't think that he would have a really high game just against DC, and that's exactly what happened. Only scored the 101 and just looked a little bit defeated, to be honest, at times. Carlton are in a world of hurt. Gorn with a 122 plus score. It wasn't looking good in the first half, but the great man just continued to battle away. And yes, they were soundly defeated in the end, but he did all he could, and well done to Maxi for scoring a decent ruck score for us this week. Should have taken it. Would have given myself an extra 28 points at least. And yeah, this was just a horrific score. Again, the rookie roulette always is a problem for us. We always seem to field the worst rookie week in, week out. And Davidson only gives me a big score when he's on my bench. So I might just leave him on the bench moving forward for your benefit, because my season is over. So I might as well just have Davidson be on the bench so that you guys can get the full value that is Davidson scoring. Bailey Humphrey with a 64, and this is with an important goal. This really sucked. Very disappointing. He had some stints on ball, but unfortunately just could not really impact much at all. And it was so funny just seeing the camera crew just pan to him on the bench with his head in his hands like this. And that's exactly how I was feeling in relation to my team. Thankfully enough for the Suns, they were kissed yet again with Rankin not getting that free kick or mark at the end and potentially kicking a match-winning goal. That would have sent Rankin up flying through the moon if that was to happen. But yeah, Rankin's a gun. McRae is a gun. Baz, seriously, look, he is... It disgusts me how he ended on 108. Connor O'Sullivan is a bad rookie to miss. Wish I had him. Riley Bice was a bad rookie to miss. Unfortunately, the rookies that I'm passing on are rookies that are absolutely torching me to a crisp at the moment. So, how this guy scored comparable to Connor O'Sullivan is beyond me. His game was so much better than Bailey Smith's. Daniel with a 92, you take that, absolutely. And yeah, Connor Stone, 29. Like, how crap do you have to be? Seriously. Like, gee whiz. Powell Pepper, like, could have done so much better if I had him on the field. But seriously, Stone, what's wrong with you, mate? Your stocks are plummeting like a rock. Rock Stone. But yeah, so that's the team. It's not in great order. It's just not scoring very well. Unfortunately, it was a risk to take. It was a risk to take with the restructuring, really reliant on the midfield rookies to carry us. And unfortunately, last week it didn't happen. They all dropped at the same time. And unfortunately, the restructure that I made sort of was like buying a stock at its most expensive and then seeing it just completely tank the next day. So this was it's unfortunate timing. You couldn't foresee that it was going to happen the way that it did. So what are my trades this week? Look, I think I just need Bice, and I think Stone has to go for it. So if I trade out, because I'm just thinking if O'Connell isn't named, then at least he can be a loop between Reed and Trainer. But I just need Riley Bice. I think Bice at this point he's even further correspondence from the press conference in relation to the Swans saying that there are some players that have greater license, and Bice is one of them. Really would have appreciated if such a comment was made before the game, and therefore we could have, had him before the game started, as opposed to us questioning what his job security was going to be like. So yeah, some of those comments like that in terms of giving him more license to play just goes to show that, hey, this guy is clearly an important member of the team. And so what we're going to do this week, look, we'll swing Marriage into the forward line. And like I said, we're going to have Davidson on the bench because we want to do what's right by you guys and try and get you even better points scoring than ever before. So Davidson goes on the bench so all of you guys who have him at F6 can really enjoy a massive score from him. Hopefully Xavier Lindsay is back this week. He can come on for Hall, and Elijah Sardis back this week to come in for Henderson. And so this is what the team looks like. We've got O'Connell playing later in the week. If he's named, it was another good win by the Saints. Do they change that team? Not sure if they do, but if they don't, with Travalia playing quite well for them, so we can just put O'Connell. He's playing very late in the pace, and then we can put the emergency on Reed because Reed plays before Trainer, plays on Saturday, whereas Trainer plays on Sunday. So we can have a look and see how Reed goes. If Reed goes really well, then we'll just keep him there as the emergency, and if not, then we can just put Trainer on field. That's not a problem. This is what the midfield looks like. It looks pretty good. Hopefully Nod can get up. If he doesn't, then maybe Nod also gets traded out to someone like a Clay Hall, for example, who played one game already. And if so, this is probably what will be on the table and just free up some cash. Alas, we won't be fielding a really good player there. It could just end up dropping Nod to then get Marriage there into the midfield, have him on field, and then Davidson can come on. So we'll see what happens about that. But hopefully now the team is looking a little bit better with some better rookies on field that we've held. And Bice comes in over here, and you never know, Bice could end up just being the finishing touch here. And Roberts, if he gets eaten up because of Bice, and Bice is continuing to perform really well, then Roberts can very easily just become Stewart, who I started with because I believe that there was a lot of value there, and Stewart is dropping in money a little bit. But I do want to save some trades. I burnt a lot of trades early on in the piece. I do want to sort of save some trades now and leave them for upgrade season. Let the rookies that we've got just try and get away, make some money slowly but surely. Callahan might be someone that we have to trade out soon, but we picked him for a reason and really hoping that he can turn it around. But ultimately, it is not a good spot to be in. It's basically season over at this point in time. I'll continue to play and continue to front up week in, week out, because that's obviously what we do. We don't just simply give up and drop everything in a bundle and just cry about it. We continue to front up week in, week out. It wasn't our year this year, so be it. Taken a lot of lessons, especially like with the Humphrey trade-in. just finding that it's really important that when you want to select a player, you should select someone who isn't a win more type of player. I'm considering Humphrey a win more player because he benefited more than anything from the success of the Gold Coast Suns as a whole. It's not like he himself was a direct driving force behind that victory. I think the best players that you really need to be aiming for are the players that actually are institutionally important and relevant to their particular team. Connor O'Sullivan was one that we had in the preseason, and we knew that he was a very good player. Riley Bice, we knew, was a really good player. There's some of these players that we had, even Murphy Reed at some point before the start of the season was in our team on our bench, because it's important to recognize that preseason research goes a long way to identifying who are the really good players. And it's important to know who the good players are, because more often than not, good players break their way into the side fairly early and stay there, and are actually given roles of importance. Whilst they might seem a little bit shaky at the start, if they're a mature age player, like a Davidson or a Bice, Connor O'Sullivan sort of read too much into it in the preseason that he was playing in the VFL side before playing one quarter in the AFL side. He played essentially 5 quarters of football. That is, on the surface, you might think, oh, he's playing more with the VFL team, therefore he's not got great job security. No, we should have looked at it as this guy has just played 5 quarters of football, and in that one quarter, playing against the seniors in the AFL team, he had 11 disposals to quarter time. That is really, really impressive. And you can't undersell how good these Geelong rookies can be. Look at Lawson Humphreys the year before. Of course, there are some that you get stuck with, like a Sean Manor, for example. Last year, a lot of us got stuck with. But it's really important to back in the preseason research that we've done and not get sucked into these practice games. To be completely honest, I've sort of made this comment previously a few weeks ago, but I'm just going to reiterate it this time around. I genuinely might not watch the practice games next year, because I just feel like there's more bait in there than genuine information, and it could be bait that sort of steers you away from someone that you had in your preseason. So I'm just gonna taking this all as a learning experience this year. These are the trades this week, and look, for the most part, I just don't have any big guys in the midfield. Like I said, it was a risky strategy trying to rely on those midfielders, the midfielder rookies, and unfortunately, the players that we've traded out, like Will Ashcroft and Horn Francis, are the ones that popped off, and the ones that we've kept just have not. So this is what the team looks like going into the week. What are my vice captains and captaincy options? I think against the Saints, we give up a lot of points to defenders, especially halfbacks. I think I might just chuck the captaincy on Whitfield, like I should have had, like what I initially thought I was going to do last week. But so there we go. We'll go with Whitfield as the captaincy, and then for vice captain, we'll probably go with DeConning against the Eagles at Adelaide Oval. I think we'll chuck it on DeConning and go with Whitfield. And if O'Connell isn't named, then we can just simply chuck the C on him. Otherwise, we can just chuck the C on Boyd, because Boyd plays a bit later on in the piece. We'll still, you know what? I won't even put the emergency on. Davidson. I just want to really make sure that he scores very well for you guys. I don't want to break him in any way, shape, or form. So I'll leave the emergency off of Davidson just for you guys. And this is what the team looks like going into the week. So guys, let me know in the comments down below just how much you smashed me by. And you can give me your commiserations if you like. Leave your best wishes. White flowers, white roses. You can send them, in the comments down below. Whatever way you want to commiserate with me, the ending of my season already in round 4. As you can see, guys, I'm not heartbroken about this. I'm not disappointed. It is just a game, and I'm going to continue enjoying the game for what it is throughout the rest of the season. It is a long season. There could be some slim chances that we can trade our way back in, but at this point in time, I'm just going to simply take it as some fun. I'll continue to front up, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys all in the next one. Bye for now.